Hello, I'm Jelena.
And I'm Suleiman.
We both study French at Harris, and we're just going to be talking to you today about what it is like studying French at Harris Westminster Sixth Form. Should we move on? So, MML at Harris. If you're studying German, Latin, or Ancient Greek, you study that at Westminster School. But if you're studying French or Spanish, or both, you study it at Harris Westminster. So, yeah, we are going to speak to you about French today. So, French, PreU. What is PreU? So, PreU is the exam board that we do, and it stands for pre-university, or it's at a pre-university level. It covers a huge range of topics from health, media, and the Francophone world to that of inequality, religion, and many, many more over your 2 years here. We study two films, so La Cérémonie and Le Chant discret de la bourgeoisie, and two plays, which include Cyrano de Bergerac and Le Bourgeois Gentilhomme. So in this, all of that, there's so much breadth and depth in the PreU course, and this allows for so much more independence and a greater exploration of the French language and culture. So what I really like about French PreU is that you actually look at authentic sources in class. For example, in listening exercises, it's not like the GCSE, I ate a hamburger yesterday. It's actually listening to French radio, interviews, and videos that are authentic to French culture, as well as speaking practice with a native language assistant. That's super useful, as well as just having the lessons in French, if not mostly in French. It really helps with like fluency and understanding French and how it functions in the actual world, as opposed to, as I'm sure you understand, the French at GCSE, which is quite elementary, I guess. It is worth noting though that PreU French is a bit harder than A-level French. And both of them are obviously definitely harder than GCSE level. However, it does make it a lot less formulaic than other exam boards, and there's a lot of flexibility that allows for your own interests in research, so that you just have a more in-depth learning of and fluency of French by the time you finish with PreU French. Should we move on? Okay, so Silly, what are our experiences as students of French at Harris?
So, learning French at Harris, I think it's been really exciting. It's been very thought-provoking, I think, more than I expected it to be, because as you guys know, coming from GCSE, you mostly talk about what you did on holiday, what you did last year, that type of thing. But at French PreU level, it kind of becomes more natural, and you become more immersed into the French culture and the way of thinking about things. I guess you become more French in a certain way. And I guess an example of this is when we're doing debates in class. We've recently, last year, we debated about whether the voting age should be lowered to 16, whether cannabis should be legalized as a drug, and stuff like that. You wouldn't think about doing at GCSE. You might not have the experience at GCSE, but doing that pre is really exciting and allows you to kind of experience French to its fullest level. What about you, Jelena?
For sure, yeah. I really like how in class we're always talking about current affairs, especially with like the pandemic. Like we're looking at how France and other Francophone countries are dealing with the pandemic, and being able to read all these materials in French is really useful and really relevant to like understanding the world. So I really like PreU French. It is definitely a step up, but my experience is that the teachers are super supportive, and that you get loads of grammar prep, and you get your own grammar books, and the library are super well stocked in terms of like the MFL department. So you're really covered and supported by the school in being able to be immersed and understand everything or most things amidst that immersion. So yeah, I've had a really good experience with French so far. I think we're also both part of Languages and Linguistic Society, but Silly, you're the president of that, so do you want to tell us about that?
I am the president of Languages and Linguistic Society, and it's a really, really exciting opportunity to kind of geek out about languages. As you're a student of French, you're going to be geeking out about French. What do you love about French? Is it the grammar? Is it the films? Is it the literature, the poetry, for example? Alina, you did many presentations last year on French as well, but we'll get to that in a second. About society in general, we have really good connections with the London Centre of Languages and Culture. which is not too far away actually. It's a few tube stops away from our school, and it's a really exciting opportunity for us to go to different lectures, and we also get to go to Oxnet lectures as well, which are lectures by the University of Oxford, where if there wasn't a pandemic, we would have gone to Oxford University itself, but this year it was online. So that was another really exciting opportunity you can do in Language and Linguistic Society. Some other opportunities are like the mentoring scheme. So we have a year 12 and a year 13 who are paired up together, and then they make a presentation of something that they find really interesting. And we also have guest lectures that come in from either Ross Group universities or other university in general, or sometimes, if we're very lucky, Oxford and Cambridge. And Jelena, would you like to talk about the past presentations that we had at Society?
For sure. So Silly said we have, guest lectures come in, but a lot of the how societies work at Harris is that, everyone takes turns in giving a presentation, and I found that really useful. You can mention it on your UCAS. You get to research more about the stuff you're actually interested in, and it's not like homework. It's just stuff and like all the topics that you'd like to relate, but links to languages, which is a huge amount. So if you want to do language at uni, it's really, really beneficial. So for example, in the past, or recently actually, we've been on translation as a society. So I did a presentation on literary translation and different types of translation on the creative means. And then Silly did one on the role of grammar in translation. So you really tailor your presentation to your interests. As someone who wants to do English and French at uni, I find that's really helpful as well, because you get to look at ideas of philosophy or really specific thinkers and pieces of literature in depth and present it, which is obviously has a huge amount of skills that come with that. There have also been ab initio language teaching presentations, which gives you insight into everyone else who may not be studying your languages in society. And the small seminar-like structures are really beneficial in terms of gaining that insight, but also being able to have those really fruitful debates, as Cindy mentioned. We've also had a presentation on the history and evolution of language, which was really interesting. I really like how in Language Society, because you want to do it at uni, you're with people who are also interested in it. So you're speaking and debating with people who have different ideas and points of reference and interests. So that always just makes a very interesting conversation, whether you know a lot about that or not. So yeah, I think we've covered that. But I hope
just to pick up on a point that you had, Jelena.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you said, we have like-minded linguists in our society, and that's something that's supposed to replicate a university seminar, which I'm sure you guys will hear more about in other lectures from the school. And it's just a really exciting opportunity to kind of get to know other people who love languages as well. And of course, it's great to put onto your UCAS and your personal statement as well as you're going to these different lectures, or you're presenting yourself, which can be really exciting. And then you can, do further research for your UCAS and personal statement, etc.
Yeah, it really prepares you well for that. FAQs. So, Silly, how big a jump is it from GCSE to PreU French?
So I'm sure this is something you're all worrying about in all your subjects, is the jump between GCSE and PreU. And if we're being honest, it is a big jump, but it isn't impossible by any means. I mean, everyone takes the jump every year successfully. So you guys should not worry about it. And something that I've been told, I think of by an academic at Cambridge University, was that the jump between GCSE and PreU is actually larger than the jump between PreU and university. And as it says in the name, PreU, meaning pre-university, is a great way to set you up for university. So although it might seem hard at the time when you're making the transition in the first few weeks of year 12, by the end of it, you'll really appreciate that you've done the PreU course, because it will set you up perfectly for university. But if you don't want to take language at university, what should you do, Jelena?
I mean, we can't really speak about this because we both want to do that. But I feel like languages as a fourth A level, whether you're doing STEM or not, it's hugely, helpful, because as someone who does a mixture of humanities and STEM, well, only maths, it really helps in terms of the logic of grammar and the pattern making. That hugely helps with maths. But I also feel that having a language to a higher degree than just GCSE is super helpful in terms of like job prospects and being able to not only study your language alongside your course if you're not doing a languages related course, but also being able to have that fluency and that knowledge from PreU French really helps you, I think, in uni and after uni. For example, we have so many people in our class who do STEM and want to pursue STEM at uni, and from like my conversations with them, they found French a huge relief from the methodical STEM ways. I wouldn't know, but and like this idea of the writing essays in French, but also being able to use different skills to just STEM related skills is really beneficial in terms of for all like degrees, and French is just a bespoke addition to that. So if you're like hesitant about choosing French, I say definitely choose it if you want to be more fluent and you want to just be able to express yourself in a better way and in another language. I feel like there's a benefit that I don't really need to emphasize there. But yeah, if you don't want to do French language that you need, it definitely helps to have it at A level anyway. But yeah, how does French help out other subjects?
So like you said, French is a very interdisciplinary subject. It gives you many skills that you can't get from maybe other humanities, or if you're studying STEM, other STEM subjects as well. And I'll give you a few examples, like literary analysis, when we're analyzing the plays that we study, or if it's film analysis as well, when we're analyzing the films that we study. And I think there's really important skills that you will definitely not get in any other subjects, especially the film aspects of things. And to add on to that, when we're analyzing grammar and we're learning about verbs and we're learning about tenses, that personally for me has really helped me in maths, which might seem contradictory or bizarre, but the logic of grammar is very similar to the logic of algebra, and I think those two things combined has really helped me understand both in equal measure. And I guess leading on from that, what is the workload like in French? And maybe we can tie this into the other question. What's a typical lesson like?
For sure. So the workload, it's pretty much the same as like the other subjects because we're expected to have 4 hours of homework set per week for each subject. And French is no different in that we have either a grammar sheet to complete or some vocab to memorize, or also like a reading sheet or a speaking prep or a listening sheet to complete. So it's really just targeting one of the areas that will be tested on in PreU French. But also we have speaking practice and prep set. So it seems like a lot, but I feel like it's really helpful, especially with the portfolio set every term, which is just when we're required to read 4 articles, read something in French and watch a film, to which we make a portfolio and give it to the teacher. And that really helps just keep on top of accessing French materials and understanding and making sure you're up to date in terms of like current events. So that's really useful. We don't get more than one essay per half term, would you say, Sully? For set for French in French, but with one of our plays we do it in English, and that's what we're doing now. So yeah, it's a lot, but I feel like that's the same with any A level. So it is worth it though. I think it definitely helps your fluency and just making sure you're constantly practicing areas you're weak at, but also just areas that will benefit you anyway. So yeah, what is a typical lesson like though?
A typical lesson would probably be, first off, coming in and saying bonjour to the whole class, very important. And then after that, you would normally spend the whole lesson speaking in French, unless you are analyzing literary text or a film. You would normally be speaking French, especially if we're doing a listening, reading, writing, or grammar activity. And I think that's something you guys probably don't get in your GCSE lessons right now, or if you do, that's brilliant. I think that's it really. It's not too hard. It's not designed to trip you up. It's just there to make you better at French, get you engaged with the authentic sources that we've talked about before. And it's just really, really interesting. It's a way to, enjoy learning a language, really.
For sure. Leading on from that, I guess, what do you find the most interesting part of the course, and maybe is there an area you don't like so much about it?
I guess I'll start with what I don't like too much. I think right now in year 13, I like everything about French, but definitely in year 12, I found that writing essays was a chore and was boring. But as I've progressed through the year and as I reached year 13, I've realized the importance of essays and how you can actually make them very fun by, watching YouTube videos, watching, reading articles, or watching the news in general, because there's always something that you can link into what you're writing about. And I guess the most interesting part for me is definitely the grammar. I love grammar. I love everything about it. I'm taking part of my course is linguistics at university, and of course that involves looking at the history of a language, its grammar, its syntax, etc., etc. And I find that really exciting. And later on in year 12, you'll be able to do university preparation classes if you wish, where you can delve deeper into the poetry, into the history of French, and into how the French language actually works, which for me was a godsend. But Jelena,
sure.
What about you? What do you love about French, and what maybe you don't like too much about it?
Yeah, I mean, in response to your essay point, I take 2 other essay subjects, so I guess I have a different focus. I do like writing the essays, especially the literature-focused ones and the film studies. Those are probably my favorite bits, like looking at the films, analyzing them, as well as reading the plays. I like those bits the most. As for what I maybe dislike or would like a bit less is probably like the listening, just because my dictation is not the best, but because we have such supportive teachers and we have such focus on all areas of the course, you're given so much help with what you struggle with or dislike the most, I guess. So like with a lot of practice, I feel like that slowly becomes less of a chore, the thing that you like the thing that you like the least. So I would say do not worry about that. Just make sure that you really would like to be more fluent in French and would like to learn more about like the French speaking world, which is a huge thing that not even us can like lecture about or give give elaborate details on. So it's definitely a learning process, as Silly was mentioning. Like you it's like grow so much from the start of year 12, doing PreU French as your first grammar class, to year 13 studying the plays. So yeah, that's what I would say. But thank you
Yeah, I'd
for
also
go on. Sorry.
sorry,
Sorry.
just to say one more thing, just to pick up about the teachers. Our teachers are amazing. They're natives. They will help you with whatever difficulties you have at your time at Harris Westminster. If you find grammar difficult, listening, reading, writing, or writing essays as well, they'll help you with anything, any problems you have. And I think you genuinely wouldn't find better teachers at any other school. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Our teachers are so dedicated. I don't think we'd be able to get through year 12 and like the difficulty of some of the texts we've gotten without them. So do not have a lack of trust in the teaching. But I really hope that we have given you more insight into what it's like to study French at Harris. If you have any questions, please do ask them. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thank you. Yeah, merci.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you take French at Harris Westminster.
Yeah, and the best of luck. Thank you.